Okay, how do we teach good hygiene habits? Sorry, this is unsavory. High-functioning teenager likes, and this is what they said, high-functioning teacher likes to scratch his hair, used to put the dandruff in his mouth. I saw this and pointed it out to him. He wasn't even aware. I hope it's not happening anymore. He used to put his fingers in his mouth, and I've seen his peers cringe away from him. Pointed this out to him. Frequency is now very low at home, but I don't know about school. He keeps his hair short. At home, he tends to put his hand down there. When reminded, he will stop. He doesn't do that in public. Is this anxiety related? And thank you for your wisdom and kindness. These are tough issues. Because sometimes our kids aren't aware of how their peers are looking at them. Different issues for my son, but he has a couple of things that he has done that I've seen, the girls in his class go, ew, and you just go, oh man, this is tough. Tough stuff. Mm-hmm.
Well, and I think with typically developing kids, they do all that kind of stuff all the time, but then they're more socially tuned in. So the first few times they get admonished by their parents or their peers, the behavior goes away.
Right.
And a lot of our kiddos on the spectrum aren't tuned in as much. So they don't even notice that it bothers parents or peers. Or even when parents do point it out, it's just another thing mom's pointing out. She's nagging me again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's
so how can we help them? Do we just lay down rules? And this is kind of the thing that I always have to go back and forth with Jem. Do we just lay down rules and not worry about filling them in on what the social component of it is and say, we don't stick hands down pants in school? Or do we say, here's the rule, we don't stick hands down in pants, and we don't do it because of what they're thinking?
I like the latter. It's not necessarily like that's going to work with every kid, because if they're not socially motivated and they don't care what other people think of them and that's not a reinforcer for them, then that kind of just sounds like, well, like whatever. Okay. And it's the rule that really matters. But I think that we don't know for sure, and so why not? It can't hurt anything to add that in. Okay. If they actually care about making friends and not being, if they have like any perspective taking at all and they don't want to be embarrassed or mistreated, maybe, those kind of things, you can bring that in. Like if they don't, care whether or not they have friends, that's one thing, but maybe they care if they're getting bullied. So you could be like, well, if you do that, then these kids are going to be mean to you and treat you poorly, and you don't want that either. So I think it's good for them to know the reasons.
Yeah, and the key is reasons that they value, not reasons that you value.
Okay.
So it has to be reasons that they value.
Okay. So for this individual that we don't know very much about, but I would put this on the hierarchy. The hands down the pants, to me, is the most important.
Absolutely.
That needs to be the thing that gets under control first, because as the person gets older, that's something that eventually you can get sent to jail for.
Right.
How do we figure out from him what is meaningful enough for him that we can say to him that's a consequence for it, so he'll stop?
Yeah, so I would come up with all the possible consequences that you can think of of doing the behavior and of not doing the behavior, and have a discussion about those different consequences.
Okay.
And usually I feel like individuals can tell you whether they care about something or not. Okay. So a high-functioning individual like this. And so then once you've identified one of those consequences that actually matters, then start talking through how you connect the behavior today with that outcome next week or a year from now.
Okay.
So whether that consequence is getting a girlfriend and dating eventually, or whether that consequence is not getting arrested by the police,
right.
Right. Or getting kicked out of school. Maybe they want to enroll in community college, but you're not gonna be there if you're putting your hands down your pants. You're gonna be ejected immediately.
Right.
Whatever it is, but then you just lay out that rational for today, next week, next month, next year, kind of how this behavior right now connects with the outcome that matters to them.
Okay. Do we need to do a replacement behavior? Do we need to investigate what the reason why the hand is going down the pants? Do we need to concern ourselves with that?
Is it the underwear uncomfortable and we need just different kinds and they're adjusting themselves, or is there rashes, stuff like that. But then also if it's masturbation, then they need to be taught that you can only do that when you're by yourself and under certain closed door kind of things.
I will say that, I have to worry as my son gets older, there's a certain amount of stuff that he doesn't want me talking about anymore. But when he was very young, we were very graphic with our language about how we try not to be shy around the house so that he doesn't have to be embarrassed about stuff. And so he was probably 4 and he stuck his hands down his pants and was doing something, and the therapist said, dude, what are you doing? And my son turned and was very graphic and said, well, this is sticking to this and I needed to unstick it. and everybody kind of went, oh. And then we had to have a discussion about when it's appropriate to say what things. And then our male therapist actually did lessons in how to rearrange your stuff without actually touching it, which was fascinating to those of us who were female in the room. I am totally serious. I
want to know more about that.
I'll give you a demo when we're not on camera.
This is a family show, guys.
Right, it is. But you know what? I mean, these are real life things that I know you are. But these are real life things, and it was fascinating to me because it would never occur to me, and frankly, it didn't occur to my husband either. That you see the baseball players up on the mound, and they're doing all these interesting moves, and you're like, what in the heck is going on there? We got a whole education in our living room that my son still utilizes, and I do think that sometimes we always talk about breaking down a lesson. Right. That if you're uncomfortable, we're not saying to them, be uncomfortable forever. We need to give them socially acceptable ways of getting uncomfortable, getting more comfortable while you're in the public. And I had no idea. I had not been paying attention that there are a variety of different ways.
Well, one of them is just do it when no one's looking.
There is that.
Just go to the bathroom.
Yeah. But when you're in junior high school and high school, that you have to get a pass to leave, and you can't always go. And if you're a baseball player on the mound, you don't get to say, "Excuse me, I'm going to step off the field to go to the restroom to rearrange some stuff," keeping it PG. But you know what I mean? So yes. How long do we have, Kathy? We only have 2 minutes. So in any case, so it is worthwhile to investigate whether we've got a dandruff problem, whether we've got an issue, whether there's a rash.
And if it's none of that, if it's just sort of a habit, then give them a replacement behavior, like you said. Maybe an object they can hold in their pocket and manipulate with their hands. Like some people manipulate their keys in their pocket. That can be kind of loud, so it could be an object that doesn't make noise. But yeah, something else to do.
Okay.